to the February...
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to the February 19th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Agribusiness Development Corporation. I'm the Chair, Jason Watts. Prior to calling this meeting to order, Ingrid Hisatake from the ABC staff will explain how the public can participate in this hybrid meeting, which can be accessed by video conference, telephone, or in person.
Thank you, Chair. For all of you joining us online, your microphone will automatically be muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you have finished speaking. For those of you joining us by phone, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then none. A voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please press star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone, as well as in-person access when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and organization, if any, you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ingrid. Testifiers are requested and reminded that there is a 2-minute limit of testimony per agenda item. This meeting is now called to order at 9:03 a.m. For roll call, I will take a roll call. Board members who are present, when your name is called, please verbally acknowledge your presence and state who, if anyone, is over the age of 18. Is present in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there are any objections or abstentions. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as the initial roll call. Board Member Cook.
President and alone.
Board Member Hinazumi.
Present.
Board Member Hong.
Present in the board session.
Chair Hurd is excused. Board Member Kahane.
Aloha and good morning, present and alone.
Board Member Okimoto.
Present.
Board Member Okuhama.
Present and alone.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member Seddon.
Present alone.
Board Member Trump.
Present and alone.
Board Member Watts is present. Board Member Wicker.
Present alone.
Thank you. That's 10. We have quorum. Members are reminded to have their cameras turned on and remain on screen during the meeting, especially during voting, so the record will clearly reflect who was present at the time the vote was taken. Section B for meetings, agenda item B1, regular meeting minutes, regular session, September 18th, 2025. We will be deferring that. Chair's report, section C, there is none. Moving on to section D, committee and permitted interaction groups will be deferring agenda item D1. Moving on to section E, action items. Agenda item E1. Request for approval to accept grant funding from Ulupono Initiative LLC for a contractor to complete administrative catch-up work to support Agribusiness Development Corporation staff. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Board Member Hong.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Okimoto. Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, I will be giving that.
Thanks, Andy.
So the amount of the grant is for $75,000.
Wendy, I should recuse
Oh, you gotta
myself
go.
now. Okay.
I'm sorry. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, Board Member Cook can excuse himself.
Is he muted too?
Yes, he's muted.
Okay. So Chair, the grant total was for an amount of $75,000. And it is going to be used not to hire anyone. It is meant to use and procure a professional services firm to catch us up on some meeting minutes and bookkeeping items. And it's the staff recommendation that of the 75,000, 35,000 go towards the University of Hawaii Community Design Center to help us to complete our strategic plan. When the strategic plan was originally procured, it was in the amount of $90,000, and it was procured using OPSD. This was for a statewide plan. I think that you and I have discussed the fact that Maui County alone has $500,000 for one county, so we had $90,000 to do an entire state. OPSD has never taken a dime, so we've not paid OPSD for anything, and they have contracted with UHCDC, who's been working with a strategic planning permitted interaction group, and we have some additional work that needs to be done. So our recommendation is $35,000 of the grant would go towards UHCDC, and $40,000 would go towards temp services to catch us up on some bookkeeping minutes.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
There's none, Chair.
Is there any board discussion?
Just one, Chair.
Yes, Board Member Hinazoom.
Just double checking, in the staff report,
Mhm.
yes, the 35,000 is for UHCDC. It talks about proof of concept study for the Central Oahu Ag and Food Hub.
That was
Is
wrong. That
Oh.
was wrong. That should have been taken.
Okay, so
That was already.
I would say as long as whatever action we take reflects of when they reported on this morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
So to be clear, right, this is gonna be for shortfall alignment and completion of the strategic plan.
Correct.
And I just have one question. This is enough to get us to the finish line?
Depending on what the board's absolute changes are, so the expectation is that yes, it would, unless there's some monumental change or improvement that the board would request after the entire board reviews.
So you sent an email, did that email go to the entire board for just the pig?
Yes,
Okay.
so only the PIG can be meeting right now, so the strategic planning PIG, the deadline is today to give any additional comments to make those changes. And, you know, per your schedule, ideally the draft would go to the entire board. At the March meeting, there would be no discussion. And the discussion would happen at the April meeting for discussion and possible adoption.
So April. Got it. Any further board discussion? I just have one more too. So members, I just want to explain, so the $40,000 for the completion of meeting minutes, miscellaneous office support, we were advised by DBED that we would need to procure services. We would be in violation to actually try to hire someone. So we will be contracting out somebody to help us finish these things at the minutes and all that, so. Any other questions, board members? If not,
Sorry, we have Jason up there.
oh, yes, Jason.
Thank you, Chair. Just had a quick question. I know grants are pretty specific, and this grant was in the background says it's pretty specific on the uses, but yet we're using monies for the concept study for the Central Oahu Ag and Food Hub. So I just want to ask the question that there's wiggle room in there, because grants, like I say, can be pretty, like, you have to use the funds for specific reasons. So I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so I'll take that. You're correct. The initial grant was for a body, one full-time person. But we were advised by DBED ASO that would be a violation of civil service law to hire someone for a position that is already listed and filled within the agency. And so they said that one option could be to hire someone to help with completing certain tasks. And so we spoke with Ulupono to see if they'd be okay with us changing that. I mean, it would still be for the same tasks, just not going to be hiring a person. And then they were okay with that. Any further questions? If not, do we have any objections? Oh, sorry, we have an abstention, so we have to go in order here. Board Member Cook, excused. Board Member Hinazumi?
Yes.
Board Member Hong?
Yes.
Board Member Hurd, excused. Deputy Director Kahane?
Yes.
Board Member Okimoto?
Yes.
Vice Chair Yokohama,
Yes.
Board Member Seven,
Yes.
Board Member Trump,
Yes.
Board Member Watts is a yes, Deputy Director Wicker,
Yes.
right, 9 ayes, measure as adopted. Moving on to.
Sorry, can you please call Jesse Cook back into the
Oh,
room?
yes, sorry, yes, Jesse.
There he is, okay. Thank you, Jesse.
Moving on to agenda item E2 is a request for approval to issue a request for proposals to provide public relations, communications, and outreach services for the Agribusiness Development Corporation. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Board Member Okimoto. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Yokohama. Is there a staff presentation?
Yes. So this is a little bit different than what we've done in the past, and the request for proposal would be to help ADC in outlining a communication strategy, not just services. So individual firms would be invited for the state procurement process, and there would be a decision-making committee that is formed in terms of evaluating the RFPs. But this is a little different in that it is asking for strategy in communication, not just simply services. So that will be a little bit divergent from what we've done in the past. The process will take a little bit longer. But per the recommendations of the PR committee, they thought this would be a better strategy for us moving forward as we're growing.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public wishing to give testimony?
There's none, Jesse.
Is there any board discussion?
Chair, yeah, I just had
Board Member Hinazumi.
a question. Sorry, I'm not familiar with how the other state agencies handle this type of stuff, but just checking to see whether we are consistent or there's takeaways we can take from other departments that might be able to chime in. And granted, ADC, maybe what we do is maybe slightly different than some of the other departments where it's more maybe just informative, but just curious, really.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in crafting the draft RFP, we consulted with 5 other agencies within the DBID framework to look at their strategies and how to put together their proposals. And then we also consulted with DBID's PIO, which is their public information officer, to have them review the outline that we were following. So we did try to glean the best management practices from the other agencies to build ours.
Yeah, and then just to add to that, in the past, I think the way it was put out there was more of a ADC had a list of things versus asking for strategic communications input. And so what we ended up with was if we don't tell them what we want, we don't get. So this one will actually have a bunch of firms kind of present to us on, a lot of different things, which one of course is the website, and all of that. If you go to other agency websites like even with UHCDC, I mean UHCDC has more information about like FPIN and stuff on it than what you would see at the ADC one. So kind of merging those things. So any other board member?
Yeah, no, I think it's good to have specific deliverables and some time frames. I'm sorry, I haven't read all the details. But is this in the current budget or is it going to be subject to the upcoming budget process?
That's a great question. So this would most likely happen in fiscal year 27. So we currently have a firm that we're working with that will be under contract through the balance of our fiscal year 26, but this would be fiscal year 27.
Okay, so we have it in the budget submittal.
We do have some money into the budget submittal, but this is a very different strategy that will probably require additional funds that the admin committee will be discussing.
Okay,
Yeah, I think the timeline takes us to August, yeah. So yeah, August will be the final contract, anticipated contract start dates. Any other questions, board members? If not, Everyone's here, so there are no abstentions. Measure is adopted. Ella. Moving on to informational items. Ms. Anela Akana, ADC FPIN Manager, will present an informational briefing on agenda items F1 and F2. F1, as members, as you know, February 26 is FPIN, ADC is participating in Ag at the Capital Day by Farm Bureau. So Anela's been tasked with creating kind of a ADC section. So if you want to talk to us.
Yes, so good morning, board. What ADC will be presenting at Ag Day at the Capitol, which is next week, Thursday, February 26th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will have a setup of 4 tables, and each of those tables will represent our work on Kauai, like the Christian Crossing, the Kikaha Bridge, the CAT building. Also, we will be talking about our Waiahole waterways. From what I hear, last year was a big hit. So we'll have our video and we'll have the gents that are actually taking care of the waterways there to talk about our work in Waiahole. We will be, our ADC will have our table with some of our farmers and their produce, their logos, and just talking about our land assets and all the work that ADC is working on. For Oahu as well as statewide. And for FPIN, I will be there talking about our Central Oahu Agriculture and Food Hub and all of that good stuff. Also, I wanted to tack on our FPIN Day because I'm next on the agenda. FPIN Day is February 25th, Wednesday, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And FPIN Day at the Capitol actually will provide an opportunity to showcase Hawaii's locally made value-added food product manufacturers and facilities to state legislators and key partners. This event highlights the innovation, economic impact, and growth potential of Hawaii's food and product manufacturing sector while strengthening connections between producers and decision makers. And so our local, from Aina to Makeke, all of our makers and producers will be exhibiting and sampling their products that they are making, and just working with our policymakers, how important these facilities will be to build out in the future. So that's FPIN Day. Please come and join us.
What time is that?
11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Same as Saturday. Wednesday, yes. You should have a flyer in your packet.
I missed it.
No worries.
26.
Well, so FPIN Day is the 25th. Ag Day is the 26th, so back to back.
Oh, same time.
You know, run them hard, yeah. 25th, 26th.
Yes, so members, so Wednesday the 25th is Egg Day, FPIN Day, and then Thursday the 26th is Egg Day. And I'd encourage you guys to come, I think as Anela works on this stuff, this works into why we're doing a communication strategy. As people like myself and board member Hinazumi are going through the reconfirmation process, we're beginning to realize, like, with all the projects ADC has, and all the questions we're getting from legislators and other stakeholders, there's still a disconnect as to what ADC does, has been doing, currently does, and what it wants to do in the future. And so how do we kind of build that messaging and look at the next 50 years of Ag in Hawaii? So kind of all comes together. So she's got a lot planned for those 2 days, including these archways and flowers and whatever. So
don't give away the secret.
Oh, sorry. If you have time, please, I'd encourage you to join the staff at the table. Any other board questions?
Board member Wicker?
Oh, Deputy Director Wicker.
Thank you. For the FPIN Day, the approach and the strategy too is to show how the Food and Product Innovation Network is just one cog in this overall system. So the concept is not only just the value add manufacturers, it's the workforce development side from Leeward Community College, Maui Food and Innovation Center, School for Adults for McKinley, all the way to the export end with Business Development Support Division. So there'll be an opportunity for people to see the whole ecosystem of value add food product development and how ADC plays a role on the manufacturing side. And then with Ag Day, the following day, none of that value add can happen without the farmers and their off grades. So there was kind of this quick strategy. Okay, how do we piggyback off of the Ag Day, but given the recess, we had to go the day before. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions? And you're gonna have, I want to add too, I gotta give myself that, so I'm interested in comment. We're gonna also feature on the Ag Day side, products from farmers who are on ADC properties. So,
Yes.
if to learn more about what the farmers on ADC land do, she'll have some of that stuff available as well. So, if not,
Farmers are gonna be there.
either or, right? Or
Yeah,
either,
yes, we're trying.
So for Maui and Kauai, either them present with product or at a minimum product present that you can display. All right, well, members having no further, I'm sorry, Wendy, ED report.
I would like to just kind of touch on some highlights of what's going on, and I hate to ask, but could you leave for just the first opening part?
Sorry, board member Hinazumi stepping out. I guess Wendy's gonna talk about the Grove Farm.
So I just wanted to touch on some of the highlights of what are currently happening within the acquisitions, the capital improvement projects, and some operational updates. So first off is the Grove Farm acquisition. We have a budget of $39 million for 1,040 acres. There was original authorization by the board for the ED to negotiate the LOI and the PSA for 1,000 acres. And then we came back to the board and asked for that to be adjusted to 1,040 to include the DCR folks. And typically in the past with an acquisition, the ED would negotiate the LOI and PSA, then would return to the board to ask for the board's input and decision on should we move forward with the PSA. The PSA also includes some due diligence work. And so once the due diligence work has been completed, ED would come back to the board again and ask for a board vote and decision to execute the purchase. So that's typically how things have happened in the past. If you guys have questions, or do you have to just sit silently during this? Okay, all right. So ask me any questions about that. We can invite board member Hinazumi back. This would be the largest acquisition in our history.
Executive order, right?
Yes. There was no cost on those. But yeah.
Oh, so Chair, maybe before we do board discussion, you should ask for a public testimony.
Oh, okay. Oh, I guess we have to. Can board member Hinazumi stay here, or he has to go?
As long as if he's recused, like if he's a conflict of interest, I think as long as he doesn't talk. And discuss.
Okay.
It's more like, yeah. For ethics, it's like they don't want him to influence, so they don't like not only voting, but just not discussion and all that stuff too.
Okay. Is there any public testimony? Any board member questions or
No
comments?
public testimony.
Oh, sorry, yes?
There's none.
None. Any board member comments?
Deputy Director.
Deputy Director Wicker?
Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Jen. Wendy, are you able to provide updates at this point in time on the targeted closure date plus the deadlines to close on the PSA and LOI, and then any of the other major milestones between LOI and to the closure date to give the board some sense of timetable?
I would say not the entire timetable, but the projection is to come to the board at the March board meeting, ideally with the PSA negotiated for board approval to sign the PSA. And at that point, there would be additional due diligence. And depending on how long it would take to do the environmental, that would be, it probably would be somewhere in the August timeframe based on everything going smoothly with contracts and execution through the due diligence, probably in the August to October timeframe for full completion.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Did you have a question?
Board member Hinazumi back in, or?
Yeah, I think that's.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not done with that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, the next update I wanted to give is on the Wahiwa irrigation system. And we have already executed the purchase sale agreement with Sustainable Hawaii. It's kind of two parties involved. One is Sustainable Hawaii and the other is Dole. In the case of the Sustainable Hawaii, the PSA has been executed. The funds are already sitting in escrow. In the case of Dole, we're in the process of negotiating the purchase sale agreement, and we're doing that in coordination with BLNR. In Act 218, there are 2 parcels that are scheduled to go to BLNR, but they're parcels that are essential for us in operating the system. So per the internal discussions, those would be part of the PSA and come directly to us. The expectation is that the acquisition would go before the BLNR board in March, and I think that's a March 13th board meeting date, and it would come to the ADC board at the March 19th ADC date for board approval for execution of the purchase sale agreement for the Dole parcel.
The parcel or the ditch?
It's the ditch and there's some parcels around the lake.
Okay, but not the lower 2,000. There's a lot of acres in the lower part toward the west side.
So the ditch,
That doesn't include that.
well, we don't get any land, we just get the irrigation system and easement all the
Okay.
way toward
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
So the 3 components, right? So we get the lower side. And then the Department of Agriculture is the middle.
So the Department of Ag is not going to have any,
Okay.
sorry, there's somebody else talking. So there's really 2 people that will walk away owning title. It will be ADC that will have title for the dam / spillway and the entire irrigation system that runs to Waialua. Lake Wilson will be owned by DLNR, and there's parcels around the lake that would be owned by DLNR. The role of the Department of Ag and Biosecurity is they will handle the engineering work to bring the dam up to dam safety standards, but they will not own any of this at the end of the day.
Okay, so DAB is gonna do health and safety and engineering work. ADC is gonna own the dam and the spillway. But we're not gonna have any farmers on.
Correct.
Okay. But there's farmers that use that water source already.
That irrigation system actually feeds 17,500 acres of ag land
That's an active production.
in active production.
But none of that is ADC leases.
There's a couple of parcels that run through, including the 511 acres where we, the board authorized licenses at the December board meeting.
There is
There's,
an
go ahead,
outdated,
sir.
yeah, there is an, I would say probably an outdated economic impact survey that was done in the early 2000s on the Waiwa irrigation system. For Oahu, I think it was 50 million generated, and then Neighbor Island had about a $5 or $8 million economic impact based off of that system.
And then when there's one more couple questions. So DLNR, where are we with them? Are they almost done? Are they gonna be done? Or because this thing lapses on
June 30th.
30th.
Yes. Their current projection is that it may take into July, August to finish their due diligence, but that portion truly rests with BLNR. Can't speak for where they're at. We have completed our phase 1 of our due diligence, so we are ready to move forward with our parcels and execute.
Okay. And then another question I have, just built on the due diligence part for DLNR. I have some concerns though, because they are going to complete it. We don't know that for sure. There's a June 30 deadline. If Act 218 is not fully executed, it expires, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just can you work with the AGs to figure out what would happen in that case that they don't complete it? Because when you have Dole owning that component, it goes back to Dole, and now ADC will own the dam and the spillway, but the water source will be owned by a private entity. I don't know how that works, so maybe try to.
Can I work with
Sure.
the AGs and get back to you on that?
Yeah.
But I think one of the things you're kind of asking about is what all would be the impact to ADC.
Correct.
So that would be part of the impact. One of the other impacts is in Act 218, there is language that exempts ADC from any dam safety violations or fines as we're redoing the dam and bringing it up to dam safety standards. So that's another, I don't want to say exposure, but that's a risk that are currently being discussed with our friends at BLMR.
Okay, because if BLMR completes it, then work with BLMR on some kind of MOU or whatever, like operate. But if they don't complete it, I don't know what happens then. Right? So we can just figure it out.
So Chair, if you don't mind,
Sure.
if I could have some answers for you at the March meeting when
Sure.
the PSA comes forward.
That'd be good too, because that
Helpful.
give us another month of where they are in negotiations.
That sounds good. One of the other high-profile acquisitions is the slaughterhouse, and the funding has been released for the due diligence. We've completed the appraisal, and we are currently working on the LOI and PSA and the due diligence. And there is $4 million in the budget, and it looks like we'll come in right at that point. And basically, the state cannot pay more than the appraised value. So we should be on budget with that. And then separately, there's $17 million in the budget in order to build the slaughterhouse. But we can't really ask for those funds until we have basically completed a PSA. And the other funds that have been released are for the egg cracking facility, which would be in the Wahiwa area. And the funds have been released, the LOI has been signed, the PSA is in negotiation, and we're just starting our due diligence. And the board did sign an MOA with UHCDC. I can't believe I'm using this many abbreviations, but with UHCDC to do a concept for the board to see what that entire business model would look like. So that's the acquisition side. I just wanted to pause and see if anybody had any questions, or I can go on to some CIP.
When would UHCDC start working on that?
I believe they have already started drafting a work plan. So the next section I wanted to talk a little bit about is the capital improvement project update. And ADC received a couple of years ago $28 million to put in infrastructure for the Central Oahu Food Aggregation Hub. Those funds have been assigned to DAGS. DAGS is the one with a fleet of engineers and contractors, and the groundbreaking for that event happened in November. There was a groundbreaking January 29th for the DOE regional kitchen, but to be very clear, that is not an ADC project. We are not overseeing that. We are only putting in the infrastructure. We have no control over those funds. I just wanted to let you know that there had been a groundbreaking for that event. There's the HPP machine and building and the purchase of 2 machines. And the design build RFP was issued in July. The operate and maintain is in the final phase of procurement. So that would not be something that ADC staff would be operating. There would actually be an operator and maintainer of the building and of the equipment. And then the project management would be handled with HCDA, Hawaii Community Development Authority, who the board signed a MOA with just recently. Another thing that the money has been released is very exciting. It's $4 million, and this is for an R1 project here on Oahu. And basically, it would take the effluent coming out of the Wahiwa wastewater treatment plant and design a system so that we could use that water appropriately. It's perfect for orchard crop, for golf courses, just non-leafy greens. And currently all of that water is going into Lake Wilson, which causes it to be graded as R2 water. So it would provide a huge environmental benefit, but having the balance of the design funds are essential because everybody wants to know how much is it going to cost? Well, you don't know how much it's going to cost until you know what the design is. So that is a key part of water in Central Oahu for the future. That's pretty exciting. We are working towards Farm Field Days. Everybody mark your calendar. It's July of 2026, and the date is TBD, but that will be is it 60th? The 60th anniversary of Hawaii Farm Bureau Farm Field Days. So that's a pretty big milestone event. We're working with the Board of Water Supply on the water line assignment and determining the size of the water line long term. In regards to the FPIN on Oahu, the concept has been completed And a $4 million line item was put into the fiscal year 27 just for the initial design. That is only for Oahu's facility. That is not for facilities on any other island. It's based on the concept work that has already been completed by UHCDC. There was a line item of $350,000, and the board approved the MOU with UHCDC for use of those funds for other statewide facilities. So that will be down the road. And then I just wanted to go into the operational, and should I pause and ask for questions, or do you want?
Yeah. I think there's some questions.
Yeah. Board Member Cook?
Board Member Cook?
Can you say the funding for the slaughterhouse? I heard 4 million and then I heard 17 million.
Yeah, 4 million is for the purchase of the land, 17
Okay.
million is to build the facility.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Board Member Yokohama?
I just wanted to ask about the egg cracking. Is that the same property that was presented to us in the past?
It
That commercial
is, it's on Killarney Avenue, yes. In Wahiawa.
Okay, thank you.
Just maybe tangential questions. The existing Beta HPP unit up in Whitmore, is there gonna be any tie-in of that facility with the DOE's to HPPs? You may not be able to answer that, but I'm just wondering if you got an existing capacity there, that if you're gonna bring in some more increased capacity, why not consolidate or utilize all that for some synergies? Anyway, this question you may not be able to answer.
You're pointing at me.
Well, I would agree with him, you know, and I don't know, I think they're separate,
Yes.
but I would imagine they're in the same complex.
Same complex,
Yeah.
different buildings, I think, but I mean, can that be utilized as an overflow? I mean, it's just.
I would think so, because I would think like, just seeing the Zippy's model, seeing what they have in Tacoma, at some point, I mean, yeah, they're flash freezing and all that kind of stuff, but the HPP might be able to extend the life beyond some of the other sauces. So I imagine DOE would be a good customer to use that machine.
Yeah. So they don't have to spend more capital capacity that exists
But
nearby.
the thing is that the existing one is much smaller than.
I understand, that might be an overflow
So,
capacity as
yeah.
you go down for maintenance and, you know,
Yeah.
certain requirements. You can see that. Second question, on the wastewater, effluent improvement, so that you use it for non-leafy
Yes.
crops and things like that, and golf courses. Is there an existing infrastructure, distribution infrastructure that can utilize that, or will a whole new distribution infrastructure be required? May not be able to answer that, it's sort of a question in my mind.
So in the past, some of the, like, there was 3 stages to the design. We've completed stage 1, stage 2, this is stage 3. And in the past, it was kind of a separate system, but that was prior to us acquiring the Wahiawa irrigation system, which may possibly provide some incentives and some options that we didn't have before. But generally speaking, it is kept separate, but that will need to be included in our design based on the new world.
I recall that there was some discussion in the prior year about infrastructure that needs to be put in and go along to some reservoir capacity in the Galbraith lands. Existing. That would be new, I guess. But the more you can utilize existing facilities, the more efficient your system can be, cost effective. Okay.
Along those points, so you mentioned so the R1, and then you mentioned the farm and field area, or for farm areas. And then you mentioned some design work for water there. Could the R1 be used there? I mean, keep that place green, make it beautiful grass and the trees, and just, you know, because it's going to be a permanent event space, right? Could help us with costs if we do this.
I would certainly say that's on the table, but that's gonna be up to the designers and engineers to figure out how we could possibly make that.
Well, let's make sure we can kind of get that in discussion,
Yes.
because I think Then we could just keep it green always, right? We kind of this beautiful space.
It would seem to me that where you can utilize gravity feed destinations like golf courses, most of that would be gravity feed. You can still substitute existing use of groundwater for this recycled water and free up more capacity for other users. Because if you have to pump uphill, then you have annual operating costs, which are fairly substantial.
I think several of the board members have expressed excitement over the months and years because there's the understanding that by having this R1 water as an option, that greatly reduces the pressure on our drinking aquifer.
Absolutely.
And it provides an alternative that's cost effective for golf courses, especially that use a lot of water, to use surface water instead of putting their straw into the aquifer. So that is really in line with our statute of functioning for the economic, environmental, and social benefit of the people of Hawaii.
Absolutely.
And
then back to the farm fair space. I think there needs to be some engineering work, I think, because I think this last time it flooded. So I don't know if that's in those plans, but you might want to talk to Farm Bureau about their experiences.
we were there.
Yeah, they were like scraping water out and all that kind of stuff the day before, so.
Yeah. There's many things to be planned, and we are on the fast track because that's really coming up quicker than anybody anticipates.
Cool, thank you.
Sammy, any questions with that? Okay, so a couple of other updates just on the operational side. I hope everybody's excited as we are, but we are continuing to use the Yardi system, and that is what is being used to create electronic invoices for all of our licensing every single month. And so that's a huge milestone that we've covered, and we're in a proactive instead of a reactive position. So we are issuing invoices for the month ahead instead of asking for people to pay for the month they just included. So that's definitely helping our cash flow, and continuing to keep the Yardi will be something the administration committee will get to determine if that's a line item that we continue moving forward, but we are fully operational with that, which is exciting. From a personnel standpoint, our accountant 5's last day was on Tuesday, and we have a search underway in case anybody knows anybody. That is a civil service position. We are in the process of doing our reference checks for both the Oahu property manager and the accountant 4 manager, to just keep remembering. If there's any other questions from an operational standpoint, I didn't want to go to the details, just hit the big picture.
Board members, any questions? Oh, sorry, anyone from the public, any questions, any testimony?
There's none, Chair.
Any board member discussion?
Yeah, I've got.
Board member Hidezumi.
First of all, we need to get our executive director's reports on our website. We don't have anything yet for calendar year 2026. Also for these board meetings, everything you're talking about, we should get some kind of write-up. There's nothing in our board packet that'll help us a lot as far as being able to actually digest and give feedback on what's happening. It's very difficult to just come here, have you just say what's going on, and then expect us to pick up on everything. So I know going forward that'd be very helpful. Same things I've been asking for an admin committee. And then just one last question about the board packet. There was a section 3, and we've got a handout about an international mission. Is that something we're supposed to apply to our update or to our meeting?
Well, I was going to kind of fold that into the ED report after the operational stuff. But if you would like to come forward and just talk a little bit about that trip, that would be great.
Ingrid, if you can pull up my slides. I can send that to you. Okay. we went on an international mission to New Zealand, Australia, and Singapore for the value-added production facility visits. A Hawaii delegation consisting of legislators, Department of Health, University of Hawaii's community colleges, and the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism visited 3 countries, touring 6 international value-added manufacturing facilities in Auckland, New Zealand, Perth, Australia, and Singapore. But before I begin, I just wanted to address ADC's milestone last November, and it was the groundbreaking. It was November 14th, and it was the groundbreaking for the Central Oahu Agriculture and Food Hub. This event kicked off building a large multi-purpose agricultural complex designed to support farmers, food producers, and local food systems in Hawaii. The hub will be built on 34 acres of ag land and is intended to become a central innovation base for agriculture and food production in the state. Planned facilities include commercial scale manufacturing and processing spaces, much like the ones visited on this international trip. Central Oahu Regional Kitchen warehouses also celebrated their groundbreaking 2 weeks ago. Central Oahu Regional Kitchen warehouses, greenhouses, and process labs, including HPP for food preservation. Our first stop to Auckland, New Zealand, to the New Zealand Food Bowl, a public-private innovation model. This facility is one of 5 food-grade spaces for pilot-scale R&D trials and commercial manufacturing within the New Zealand Food Innovation Network Hub. The Food Bowl is Hawaii's equivalent to the new entrepreneur product manufacturing facility at Whitmore for commercialization. The Food Pilot, another one of the 5 facilities within the New Zealand network, provides development and small-scale manufacturing. Hawaii has already replicated and surpassed the efforts of the Food Pilot with the Wahiawa Value Added Product Development Center. Unlike the Food Pilot, which is housed within a 4-year university, VAPI is a program for our community college. A purposeful decision to expand access for entrepreneurs by lowering barriers to programs and services. Our next visit to Perth, in operation since 2023, the Food Innovation Precinct is a state-of-the-art facility fostering industry innovation to drive business growth, develop new products and exports, and transform Western Australia's food and beverage manufacturing industry. Split across an R&D facility, a production building, and an innovation facility, the Food Innovation Precinct fosters an open innovation ecosystem. This ecosystem of innovation has already attracted Aritza, a Swiss-based food business that will bring hundreds of jobs and food manufacturing opportunities to Western Australia. Onward to Singapore to visit Scale Up Bio, ADM, and Nirasa. Singapore is financing our investments in innovation through Temasek, an investment firm under the Ministry of Finance. In 2021, Nirasa was created as Temasek's dedicated entity for improving food security and nutrition through innovation. Temasek provides the backing for Nirasa to form global partnerships and build infrastructure like Scale Up Bio and Food Tech Innovation Center, prioritizing value-added products that are healthy, sustainable, and functional. And our last stop in Singapore, Food Plant is Singapore's first shared facility for small batch food production, a subsidiary of the Singapore Institute of Technology. Their focus is producing globally quality food with high safety standards. Similar to Hawaii, Singapore imports 85% of their food with very little agriculture land. But Food Plant's vision of transforming Singapore into Asia's leading food and nutritional hub. Site visit to Singapore Polytechnic, incorporating real-world learning and industry mentorship through industry. They are transforming food innovation through science and technology. Under Singapore Polytechnic is the Food Innovation and Resource Center and Future Food Lab, focusing on developing healthy staples, including tasty meat alternatives and diabetic-friendly meals. I just wanted to mahalo to our partners and pioneers that are paving the way for value-added product development. Many of the components of Hawaii's Food and Product Innovation Network As discussed above, we're informed by lessons learned and best practices of our partners. Our site visits to New Zealand, Australia, and Singapore reinforces the importance of current plans and practices. At the same time, these site visits offered new direction to enhance Hawaii's food and product innovation network. In honor of Mahina Olelo Hawaii, I leave this with you. A'ohehana nui ke alu'ia. No task is too big when done all together by all. Mahalo nui.
Any comments or testimony from the public?
There's none, Chair.
Board member discussion? Board Member Hall?
I mean, does Singapore expect to increase their 15% of self-production through
Well, there's,
high-tech, greenhouse?
so they are on the same track, similar to Hawaii, they're on a 30% by 20.
Because they don't have any land.
They don't have any land agricultural, so their focus is on technology and aquaponics and hydroponics and aquaculture.
Vertical grow,
Yes,
lights.
yes, all of it. So that was a big focus on Singapore.
And do they anticipate that that's going to cost a lot more than what they could import? Or, I mean, what's the delta between that? What's the premium by that?
Well, with Temasek, their portfolio is 434 billion Singapore dollars. So with Temasek and being able to help fund the food agency, food plant, Singapore, the food agency, that is the goal, especially again, like similar to Hawaii, 30% by 2030. And then by 2050, 50% by 2050. Should be all locally grown in Singapore. Aquaculture, yes, yeah. What did you say?
I don't want to say more.
What was that? The can hear you?
Can hear you.
I said, except we don't have 400 billion.
Right.
That's Singapore dollars.
Singapore dollars, yeah, which is 400 million US dollars.
Oh, shit, 400.
Billion.
Dave has
Yeah.
I don't know, the dollar has been going down like
It has,
currency,
it has,
so it's gonna be
yes.
more expensive.
Yes.
I just have one another. So to help us like track these things, because this was kind of a big trip you guys went on. Can you, and I don't want to add more work, but just to kind of keep track of like site visits and then what we actually do.
Absolutely.
And we kind of like, all the things you saw on the trip and then how those things gonna fit into,
The pathway,
Yeah,
absolutely,
Hawaii,
I can get
yeah.
that to you.
because that'd be kind of neat to see, to their point about dollars, really, where.
I can put together a metrics report.
And then we can keep track
for the
of
board.
the things we're seeing and.
And again, this was actually one of my first trips to go and actually see facilities. So it was a huge learning curve for me, but definitely. I
Yeah,
can
no,
put
it's
together
important because you can
metrics.
kind of see where the thought process is,
Absolutely.
where they wanna go. But on another note too, I get really worried that, it's already February 2026.
Yeah.
And, it's like literally, I don't know, 9 months until 2027 and, so I don't wanna lose the farmer component.
Of course.
And then, of course, I also, to board member Cook, and his pig, I think you guys gotta talk, you and the commodity coordinator.
Yes.
You guys gotta talk to Jesse and his pig, because, as I go through my confirmation process again in the Capitol, I'm hearing from legislators about farmers and how they don't know what the hell you guys are doing, right? And that's literally what they tell me. And so I just wanna make sure that there's somebody in the middle that's working with DOE to make sure whatever they produce in paper is something that is palatable to the farmer and vice versa, right? Because I just wanna make sure we're not missing each other.
Right.
And then all this procurement stuff comes out and then farmers are like, I can't do that, or I only have 2 trucks, how am I gonna get my stuff to that kitchen or whatever, right? You're gonna come pick it up or,
Well,
so.
I know that our commodity coordinator is working really hard. I mean, he just started his job, and so he's been like, ever since he started, he's been boots on the ground, just hard at,
Okay. So I think it's
tracking all
something
of
we
this
wanna,
information.
get more public information out there.
Absolutely.
Are they working with the distributors to, as far as transportation for the product to the farm to see the kitchen and stuff like that?
Not, well, for the regional kitchen, no, we don't have any,
Cause
Yeah.
that's gonna be a problem.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's gonna be how you, because you gotta have refrigerator vans to
Right,
transport.
right.
And the only ones that really have the infrastructure to do it would be the Mansons, the Armstrongs, and I think distribution is key in all of this. I just wanna make sure that they're looking at that.
I know that DOT is part of our partners, one of our partners, and so I know that part of that will be in the pathway as far as cold storage.
Sure, I can.
Board Member Wicker, take it.
Yeah, so what was interesting is one of the central kitchens we visited, I think it was in Bethel, they actually incorporated their transportation services, their school transportation services into their child nutrition central kitchen. So our commodity coordinator is in discussion with school food branch as well as additional staff under DOE. There was just some discussion in the last few days about scheduling a meeting sometime in April or May with farmers and farmer organizations to start, I think, addressing some of those questions you raised, Chair. Logistics, yes. Commodity coordinator is, we had it rescheduled. We were visiting with one distributor. This distributor has brought to our attention about their vehicles going, across the state empty and could help with transport. The information, yes, as far as a communication to farmers, that's what the meeting will be about hopefully in May. I think what did Board Okimoto bring up? Sorry, I didn't record it all. Was there a question or guidance or a suggestion?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, it was mainly about transportation from the farm to the central kitchen or whatever the users.
Oh, okay, yeah, so all of these things are being presented or informed to our commodity coordinator. It might not necessarily be the kuleana of that person, but there has to be the tie into the ecosystem. Procurement is one, I think Board Member Cook brought that up, that has to be addressed. I know the legislature, some of the key stakeholders are looking at ways to adjust procurement based on what we saw in Colorado. There's so many moving pieces on this. One of the goals for ADC and the commodity coordinator and where we're at right now is CTAR and Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity have been preparing these commodity maps. We're at the point right now internally with DBED, with Office of Planning, who has access and prepares GIS for us. They've taken in these commodity maps and started layering them onto the actual GIS system. So the commodity coordinator at this point right now has started to click on the parcels and identify who the landowners are. And the task is by our budget cycle in the interim to identify the major land and irrigation systems that the commodity maps have identified. In the GIS system, the OPSD staff has also integrated in what commodities could be grown. So when the commodity coordinator clicks on the land or the parcel to identify it, they'll know exactly what type of commodities. The reconciliation now is using Department of Education and their school menus. They haven't finalized it yet, but they're on a 5-week calendar of what their products are going to be. That'll help identify which parcels we need to target first. The other thing to this is we haven't waited. We're starting to figure out, even though the regional kitchen isn't up and running yet, what a process may look like for local tenants. We're working with one tenant from the Kikaha area to figure out how they can start directly selling to DOE. And then once the regional kitchen comes up, the process just shifts. Do they just sell to the kitchen, or do they continue the process that we've developed now, depending on that product? Because not all products will need to go and be aggregated at the regional kitchen. It could still, in some of the cases, it could still be shipped directly to cafeteria. That could be like greens and certain vegetables.
Yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
So the also thing, we mentioned the egg breaker facility earlier. One egg producer on Oahu has about one container of liquid egg, off-grade eggs a month that they ship out for liquid egg. DOE just sent over yesterday a proposed estimate of how much liquid egg would be on that 5 calendar cycle. So the Kamai coordinator are gonna go over that, and then we have a meeting scheduled this afternoon.
When you say one container, Dane, what do you mean by like a 40-foot container sort of thing?
So
Okay.
so I think the back of the napkin was that one container of shelled egg would produce, I think it was 20,000 pounds of liquid egg.
And
So
that's once per month.
That's currently right now.
Okay.
This could scale up. So this is just meeting. We're trying to figure out what is DOE's demand for import replacement. Then we can potentially move on to the other state institutions. And, from there, you also have the hotel industry as well. But the first and foremost is to get to DOE and get that import replacement taken care of.
Dane, can I ask a favor of sorts, and allow you to, can we include the Jesse's Pig in this discussions too? Because I think and then no, it's not knocking on anybody, but I think there's a lot of governmental discussion, but I think Jesse's Pig has a lot of external information from actual boots on the ground kind of perspective on transportation, on contracts. And it could be helpful if they were involved, if you can.
So I think that what the pig would have to they'd have to call a meeting and invite those people to.
Okay, but if they knew what the meetings are, maybe they can create a meeting around that and help. So thank you. Sorry. One more on.
Yeah, Dane, thank you. That's really good information. Seems to me that one of your baseline bits of information for your mapping and everything is what exists today. So currently, there are producers that go through distributors that then have the contracts with the individual school kitchens. So you already have information about. Hopefully, you've got some data about quantities. I know it's hard to pull out because everything that goes from a local producer to a distributor doesn't necessarily all go through DOE. But that's the lion's share of the current volume of local produce that makes up the 10-15% that we're dealing with now. So that's your baseline. And on top of that, so what happens is, my understanding is that the distributors actually go to these larger farmers, producers, and actually was able to bring it back to their distribution center that then goes out to the end user. So obviously, as you talked about, that some of those trucks going back empty, it does make sense for that to be part of this overall system of logistics, how you get from farm to ultimately the table. Then on top of that, then you add the regional kitchen get to be up and running. And how are you going to integrate that in from a most cost-efficient perspective? What exists out there, and we know what exists out there already, and what needs to be expanded or developed brand new. So I think the whole system can be a lot more efficient as you know what's existing today, what the delta is for tomorrow for the regional kitchen, and how some of that can synergize with what we're trying to achieve.
Good point. Yeah, and I believe you're on that pig as well too, right, board member?
Yeah, so it's Jesse's the chair, board member Hong, and board member Okuhama.
Actually, very valid points and very relevant to some of the discussions that we've already had. So thank you.
Cool, thank you.
That's it.
That's it. And I just want to add to, I think, board member Hinazumi's comments. I think, Wendy, this is a better report, I think. But if we could get it on more clearly on the agenda that goes out,
On the submittals.
The submittal, six, week before, and we can read through it and actually give you questions or kind of prepare for them. It'll be helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other board member questions or issues? If not, having no further business before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, board member Hong. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, board member Hinazumi. Are there any objections or abstentions? Board member Okino was excused. The meeting is adjourned at 10:07 a.m. Thank you, board members. I just want to add, guys, the March board meeting is going to be kind of heavy and important. So if we could all please plan to be around.
Physically be here?
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.